KRTU 91.7 FM. We are here at Jazz'SAlive's 41st annual celebration at Hemisfair Park. It's a beautiful day. We are enjoying some great performances. Take a look at the event with us. What does Jazz'SAlive mean for y'all as an event, personally, as a group?
For me, Jazz'SAlive is extremely important. I grew up on jazz music, 41 years of Jazz'SAlive, and I am 42 years old, so it's been a part of some of my earliest memories being a part of this festival, and it's had its blueprint in many different parks in the city of San Antonio, and I grew up with great memories in all of those parks.
For me, Jazz'SAlive is just an awesome experience. I've also grown up surrounded by Jazz'SAlive and seeing it around town, and then I remember just kind of running into it on accident, and it's always super cool. So the first time we got to play it was a magical experience, and it's just really cool to do it again. So,
well, I was very fortunate because I had a love for music from an early age, and I had this really wonderful teacher that had introduced me to a lot of the great local musicians very early on. So he was the one that sparked my interest, and I believe my first Jazz'SAlive was when Maynard Ferguson had come. So from there, I was basically hooked ever since then. Never did I imagine that I would have the opportunity to become a performer or direct a band here in that capacity, but I'm very thankful that through my studies, it basically evolved to what I've been able to do today. So
you guys kind of already touched on my next question, but kind of now speaking as performers here, what do you think Jazz'SAlive means to the community?
You want to go first?
Sure. I mean, you got people like JJ, you got people like the 91.7 team doing jazz and promoting jazz, but I feel like if you're not necessarily plugged into that scene, it can be kind of hard to access it. So I feel like an event like this is so valuable, especially being in a place like this, the beautiful Civic Park, all freshly done up and looking cute. It's just a nice, beautiful place for people to access beautiful, new, probably music, and that's what we're here for.
For me, I think the community loves, number one, free events. Free is always fun, and it's our favorite price to pay. And San Antonio is blessed to have a lot of great free events. And like he said, accessibility is a big deal. But there is a community of San Antonians that adores jazz music deeply, and it is definitely not a mainstream art form. So anytime we can get our hands on it as a city, as a community, a lot of people gravitate towards it. We bring our lawn chairs out. We set out days in advance. We plan our stuff ahead of time because we know that the crowds are going to be present and they're going to pack it in for the good music.
I just think that it helps to promote awareness of jazz. San Antonio being the 7th largest city in the country, it's still a well-kept secret in terms of what it has to offer jazz scene-wise. And I really think that this event year after year brings more awareness. I mean, as it was really packed yesterday, and I'm anticipating it's going to be really packed today. So it's just a huge cultural thing, and again, helping to really usher in a lot more recognition for jazz happening in San Antonio.
For anyone, like you mentioned, that's not involved with the jazz scene here in San Antonio and is maybe interested, what would you say to kind of give them that push to get involved with the community? Why is this community so special?
You just got to put yourself, I don't even want to just say put yourself out there, but really it just comes down to if you are fascinated with the music, if you enjoy jazz music, you go to the places where it's being played, be a part of it. That's how we met, and that's, to this day, we're still playing together and we're fans, and musicians. So it's just go do what you love, and that's it.
So we did meet at Carmen's de la Calle, which is a historically known jazz spot here in San Antonio, Texas. And you never know what type of connections you're going to make with other people by coming out. A lot of times we've gotten into this space, especially since COVID-19, of not gathering in community. And I know there's a risk of spreading, infectious disease, but put your mask on if you want to and still come out, listen to jazz. This is a space where you can kind of stay away from people if you really want to, but still be in community and have conversations with folks without having to necessarily worry about the spread of germs or anything like that. So if that's something that concerns you, you can take those precautions. However, there are lots of missed opportunities if we do not go out and get live experiences with music, because you can sit and watch it on YouTube, but it's not going to give you the same feel.
So the Catching Daylight Sextet, it wasn't officially named that, but it's a group that basically is going to honor the legacies of the bassist Jim Kelson and the saxophonist Richard Garcia. I was fortunate enough to be part of the band that Richard Garcia had put together to record what ended up becoming his last album. So I decided to preserve the legacy of this group and try to honor him as well as Jim, who we just lost recently. And I'm going to do everything that I can to try to see if I can keep the group as active as possible. And every time we do so, it'll certainly memorialize and preserve the legacy of what these gentlemen added to the scene. And they were also integral parts of Jazz'Alive going way back to the 80s. They performed in either their own bands or as sidemen with different bands going back to the first decade of Jazz'Alive. And I think it's important to make people aware that they were, wonderful crown jewels here in the San Antonio jazz scene.
Is this your first year doing Jazz'Alive?
So this is not our first year doing Jazz'Alive. We played, I believe it was 2022. Fantastic show. And yeah, feels beautiful out here today. So,
as far as a spectator, I've basically been attending off and on since the mid-1980s, probably year 2 or year 3, in 1985, 1986 onward. As a performer, I started performing in the mid-90s, and I performed in the 2000s, 2010s, and then, of course, the 2020s. So,
if you miss us at Jazz'Alive, I am so sorry you missed us.
You can also follow us on social media at The Foreign Arm on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us on The Foreign Arm.
Keep supporting. KRTU is such a wonderful support mechanism for all things jazz here in San Antonio. Support the station anytime there are drives, or even if there aren't any sort of drives to fundraise for the station. Get on that website and pledge a donation. Keep this wonderful, wonderful, precious thing that is KRTU going. Because the more we do that, the more KRTU spreads the good message concerning the gospel of jazz here in San Antonio.